question comes from Upper Echelon. He says, will the Dolphins draft a quarterback? Who are the top quarterbacks available draft or free agency? So who are the top quarterbacks available? I think when you look at free agency, it's definitely Kirk Cousins. I think he's proved over his career that he's a franchise quarterback, and he's going to get paid a whole lot of money after this year. And then when you look at the draft, my top three prospects would be Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, and Lamar Jackson. I think all three of those guys have potential to be franchise quarterbacks for the long term. I think those three are my top guys. And then when you look at, obviously, free agency, Kirk Cousins. Now, I think if the Dolphins were in the market for a quarterback after this year, I think Kirk Cousins would probably be the number one choice. He's proven. He's a franchise quarterback. If we were to go the free agency route, it would be Kirk Cousins. Look at Kirk Cousins and what he's been able to do with a really good supporting cast. That's something people don't take into account. It's not like Kirk Cousins is carrying a football team. His years down there, and his most successful years, obviously, he had Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon, Crowder. They drafted Josh Doxson, Jordan Reed at tight end. They've had a good stable of running backs, and obviously Jay Gruden is a really good offensive coordinator. He's a really good play caller. So Kirk Cousins has had a great surrounding and supporting cast. It's going to be interesting to see how he performs without that supporting cast, because I think they did downgrade in talent. Obviously, they lost Pierre Garçon. They lost Deshaun Jackson. By the way, both of those guys in the past have been number one wide receivers. With the Redskins, they have been. Both have been 1,000-yard receivers. So that's a lot of talent to lose. It's going to be interesting to see how he performs with a lesser talented offense in terms of a receiver core. I'm going to be interested to see how Kirk Cousins plays, because again, it's not like he was carrying anybody down there in Washington. He had a really, really good team. It was their defense that really lost them a ton of games. Look at the draft prospects. Obviously, starting with Sam Darnold, he's the clear cut. I think he has the slimmest chance to fail. I think he looks like a number one bona fide franchise quarterback. When you watch Sam Darnold play, his pocket presence is awesome. His ability, his just feel for the game is pretty awesome. It's pretty amazing. His arm talent is ridiculous. This man can throw. He has such touch on a deep ball. He looks like a franchise quarterback, basically. He has everything you would want in a franchise quarterback. He's a leader. He rallies his team in the fourth quarter. He's everything you would want in a franchise quarterback. You look at Lamar Jackson, who's probably the most popular out of the three. There are definitely question marks with him. I think the biggest question mark is, can he pass within the pocket? Because when you get to the NFL now, all the defenses are geared toward stopping the pass, and that means everybody on the defense is just super duper athletic. So you can't just run around, like Michael Vick did back in the day. Like, just the defenses are so much faster than they used to be. So I think Lamar Jackson has to prove that he can pass within the pocket. That's the only criticism I have of Lamar Jackson. If he can prove that this upcoming season, I have zero question marks that Lamar Jackson could be a franchise quarterback. And then when you look at Josh Allen, he's more of a Carson Wentz kind of guy. He's more of a prospect. You really don't know if he's going to be a Carson Wentz or is he going to be Mitchell Trubisky. Like, you just don't know who he's going to be. Now, we haven't seen Mitchell Trubisky play, but I don't have a lot of that was the only one I could really think of. So, again, Josh Allen, more of a prospect than a ready guy, but we'll see how he performs this upcoming season. But yeah, those are, if the Dolphins were in the market for a quarterback after this season, those are the top guys for sure. This question comes from JC Bryant. He says, what second-year player will have a breakout season? So I have actually two players for this, because they've had a really strong training camp. My number one is Kenyan Drake. I think Kenyan Drake is going to be amazing this upcoming season. What he's been able to prove to the coaches and actually put trust in him. He knows the playbook now. He's not going to go out there and do the wrong thing, run the wrong route, all that other stuff. The quarterbacks have faith in him. Again, when you look at Adam Gase's offense in the past and what he did with players like Matt Forte, running backs are extremely important to Adam Gase's offense. They are a heavy part in the passing game. Kenyan Drake is going to run a lot of deep routes, a lot of wheel routes coming out of the backfield, a lot of angle routes coming out of the backfield. I think you're going to see a lot more touchdowns from Kenyan Drake this upcoming season. His size and speed combination, I've talked about this before, is insanely. You can't find that. That only comes around every so often. That's a super rare quality in a running back. And his feel for the game. He has that running back. He has his own style of running. He has the feel for the game that you need at the running back position. What I'm trying to say is he just has great football instincts. And you saw that on kickoff returns last season. You saw that on the Buffalo Bills run. He just has a great feel for the game. And combine that with his talent, I think you're going to see a beast, whether that's, running the football or coming out of the backfield. I think we're going to see a whole lot more of Kenyan Drake this upcoming season. And then when you look at Leonte Carroo, I've been extremely disappointed in Leonte Carroo. I've been a huge supporter of the trade for Leonte Carroo. I think it was a good move. Obviously, he was extremely disappointing his rookie season. Obviously, caught one pass, and it was a touchdown. I think he caught 2 passes, or maybe that was his only catch. I can't remember. But Leonte Carroo has a really, really, really strong training camp. He's building that trust with the coaching staff, proving that, last year he really didn't work hard. He was overweight. He's doing everything right this offseason, and he looks amazing. And he's gotten first team reps with the receivers, and he's going to be another weapon for the Miami Dolphins offense. So those 2 guys, I definitely have faith in that they're going to break out this upcoming season. This question comes from Estevan Jr. He says, Skaggs, congrats on the 1,000 subscribers, bro. Well, thank you, Estevan. Obviously, you've been around this channel. You've been active in the community for many moons, and I appreciate you. He says, if Jordan Phillips keeps showing inconsistency throughout the rest of training camp, scrimmage, and even preseason, do you see him making the 53-man roster? Maybe then they might trade for Sheldon Richardson. You know what? This is the most frustrating thing about this offseason until Tannehill got hurt, and then that was the most frustrating thing. But Jordan Phillips has just been a disappointment. He's been talking about it in interviews, like he tries to get better, he's trying to stay more consistent. I don't know what the problem is with Jordan Phillips. He has all the talent in the world to be at least a good player in the NFL, for God's sakes. We drafted him in the 2nd round. He's been an utter disappointment. He's been a bust. He has all this talent. I don't know what, his motor was a problem coming out of college. And I don't think I've ever seen a player in NFL history to have this big of a problem with his motor, for God's sakes. Jordan Phillips, I have never seen anything like this in my life. Jordan Phillips has all the talent in the world, and he just can't put it together. I mean, he just can't put it together. It makes me upset because we've obviously stuck with him from these many years because of his talent, because he's shown flashes of greatness. I think at best Jordan Phillips is a sub-package player. I think he's a rotational player. He cannot play 3 downs in the NFL. He just can't be consistent enough. I don't know if it's if he just loses. I don't know what it is with Jordan Phillips. And he's got Sue coaching him, for God's sakes. If Sue can't teach him to be a good player, then nobody's going to be able to teach him. I don't know what's going on with him, but I see him making the final 53-man roster. I think he'll make the 53-man roster just because of how thin we are at defensive tackle. I don't think he's going to be traded, even if he does show inconsistency. But he's definitely not going to start. I can tell you that right now. Devon is definitely going to start over him. He's had the silver lining to this is Devon's had a really good training camp. Today in training camp, he beat up on Craig Urbick. Like, he beat up on him bad season. And it's just unfortunate that Jordan Phillips can't put 2 and 2 together and actually play consistent football. It sucks, but I definitely don't think he's going to get traded or anything like that. He's definitely going to still be on the 53-man roster just because of the fact that we're so thin at DT. This question comes from Gamer_Rific. He says, what do you think about Raekwon McMillan? And he says, I'm a huge fan. Road to 2,000 subscribers. Thank you, Gamer. You've been a huge participant in the community. Obviously, you've been around for quite some time as well. So I appreciate you. What do I think of Raekwon McMillan? I love Raekwon McMillan. I think he's going to have an outstanding year this upcoming season. You don't see it. You don't see middle linebackers take over, especially at his age. He's like 20 years old. Take over the job that fast, especially since we have vets like Lawrence Timmons and Kiko Alonso who have played that position before. Those are super talented guys. And for Matt Burke to have the faith in him to play the middle linebacker position says a lot of where Raekwon McMillan is at this point in his career. Everybody thought, he's going to have to sit a year, he's going to have to redshirt a year, and learn under Kiko and Lawrence and be, like a sub-package type of a player. But no, he's going to be a full-time 3-down starter. It said that he would play in the nickel package, in the quarters role, meaning he could be a coverage linebacker. And obviously, that was a huge question mark coming out of college, is whether he could be that or not. And I think Raekwon McMillan is going to have a huge impact on the Miami Dolphins this upcoming season. I can't wait to see him play in his first preseason game this Thursday. Everybody needs to get hyped for that. And I expect big things from Raekwon McMillan. I'm a huge believer in Raekwon McMillan. He reminds me a lot of Zach Thomas in terms of his approach to the game of football. He is a preparation. He prepares. Obviously, the famous Zach Thomas quote. He said, I might not be the most athletic, might not be the most physically gifted, which those are two of the same things. I don't know why I repeated myself, but then he said, but I'm the most prepared. And I think that's why he reminds me so much of Zach Thomas. He takes the game super seriously, and he's super passionate about the game of football. And he's going to be the most prepared. And obviously, when you're the quarterback of the defense, you need to be. Obviously, you're making the calls. You're trying to guess what the offense is going to run. And I think Raekwon McMillan is going to do a lot of those things. And for him to do that as a rookie, it just speaks volumes about Raekwon McMillan. This question comes from Sean Jacobson. He says, could this potentially affect Devante Parker's, quote, breakout year everyone has been talking about? If Cutler and Parker don't have chemistry, will that make all the news people bash him even more and count him as a bust despite the quarterback change? No. I think Devante Parker, this isn't going to affect him. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. The way Devante Parker has looked in training camp, no. Devante Parker would make anything work. That's how impressive he is in training camp so far. It just looks like everything we thought he was going to be. He's been he's just been great. I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, everything that we thought that he was going to be, I think he's going to be this upcoming season. He's elite when he catches the ball in space. He can it's amazing his ability at his size, at 6'3", to make people miss like he does in the open field. He is a master when it comes to the fade route, the back shoulder fade, anything deep. Devante Parker obviously made a living coming out of Louisville on high pointing the football, and guess what Jay Cutler does? Jay Cutler, he has such arm talent where he can just place the football where not many quarterbacks can, especially on deep routes. He has accuracy because he has the arm strength to drill it in there far down the field. And you saw some of that when Jay Cutler played with Alshon Jeffrey. You're going to see some of that with Devante Parker. Similar size and very similar ability to high point the football. I think the DP could probably jump higher than Alshon can. So Devante Parker, this should not hurt his stats at all. And again, remember, another thing that Devante Parker does well, he's a deep threat. He ran a 4.3 coming out of college at his size. And the thing that Jay Cutler does probably better than anything he does is throw the ball deep. He has a tremendous touch on the football. So this should not hurt Devante Parker's numbers at all. And again, it doesn't matter. Even if Matt Moore starts week 1, it shouldn't hurt his numbers. The chemistry thing, I don't think is going to be a problem. Again, I think Jay Cutler has made a living in terms of throwing touchdowns on that back shoulder fade route, drilling it in, and letting his receivers go up and get it, and that's what Devante Parker does the best. So no matter who is starting at the quarterback position, it is not going to hurt Devante Parker. He has been a dominant force in this year's training camp. This question comes from No, This Is Patrick, and before we get into your question, No, This Is Patrick, I do want to shout you out. You've been a pioneer in the community. You might as well be the leader of us all, for God's sakes, within the comment section, and I appreciate you for that. And this question comes from No, This Is Patrick. He says, how is Matt Moore going to take the signing of Jay Cutler? As soon as we sign Jay Cutler, the thing that I was most worried about is how the locker room is going to handle that. Because the locker room is such an underrated part of football. It is such an underrated part of football. The locker room that we have right now is full of guys who are passionate about the game of football, who will do anything to win in the NFL. They are so highly competitive and fiery. That locker room is what you want a locker room to be. That's what you want your culture to be, is sacrificing yourself for the greater of the team. And that's what that locker room is. So as soon as we sign Jay Cutler, the thing that I was most worried about is, one, how do they take, because first of all, Matt Moore is highly respected in that locker room. What he was able to do for us last season is step in from Ryan Tannehill, win that Cardinals game, which was obviously a very close football game when Tannehill went out, and then he goes on the road to New York, beats the Jets, has probably his best performance of his career. Then he goes on the road to Buffalo, beats Buffalo. These are all December games, by the way, in the race to the playoffs. And that win was probably the most important victory we've had in the last 10 years in the franchise. In that span the franchise has had, it was extremely important. We got into the playoffs. So Matt Moore is highly respected. So the thing that I was most worried about is, how does the team view Jay Cutler coming in and now taking over that job? We'll see how that goes. I think I have all the faith in Adam Gase in the world. I think Adam Gase is our franchise coach for the next 20 years. That's how much faith I have in Adam Gase. So I trust Adam Gase. I trust his opinion on things. I don't think he would ever do anything to hurt the football team. This is his first choice. This is the guy that he wants to bring into this locker room. He trusts to come into this locker room. That's the thing that I was most worried about when we signed Jay Cutler, is how does the locker room handle it? And Jay definitely needs to make an effort to build that chemistry with the players, because you talk about some of the guys in that locker room when you talk about Juice Landry and Dominican Sue, Devante Parker. Even though he's quiet, he is a competitor. Some of those guys in that locker room, man. Jay Ajayi. I mean, those are some passionate football players who will do anything to win a football game. We'll see. That's the thing that I was most worried about. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he fits within the locker room. It's gonna be interesting to see. Question comes from Unity182. He says, do you think Jay can elevate his game next season? Yeah, I think he can. Based off of what we've seen in the past. And listen, I haven't even given my opinion on Jay Cutler. My opinion in the past, I have never been a Jay Cutler. Like, I've never been a big fan of Jay Cutler's. Some of the picks that he's thrown, and the talent he possesses, and for him not to put it together, I guess, win more games on more of a consistent basis. You kind of he's been a frustrating quarterback throughout his career. And to have all that talent, interceptions, and turn the ball over that many times, it frustrates you as a fan, because he does have all that talent. So I've never been a big Jay Cutler fan. But when Jay Cutler was coached under Adam Gase, he looked like a totally different player. He truly did. In the past, he threw 18 interceptions on a yearly basis. Adam Gase was able to cut that down to 11, for God's sakes. So I don't think there's any reason for us not to expect the same thing of him this upcoming season. He didn't turn the ball over when he was coached under Adam Gase the first time. Why would he do it again? I just don't understand that. And he has the talent around him. The talent around him is some of the best talent in the league. Like, this offense that he's going to be handed down is super talented. Our receiver core is top 3 in the NFL. Our offensive nucleus is top 3 in the NFL. When you look at our tackles and some of the protection that Jay Cutler's had in the past, it's not even comparable, for God's sakes. Laramie Tunsil is a franchise left tackle. Jawan James might be a franchise right tackle. And that sounds a little crazy to you guys, but the training camp that he's had so far is by far the most consistent training camp that Jawan James has had. By far. He looks amazing. So the bookends, his pass protection should be better. The only question mark on that offensive line is who's going to fill the left guard position. And it looks like it's going to be maybe Craig Urbick or Brindell. And by the way, Brindell looks amazing as well. So this offense is so talented, super talented. Adam Gase coached him the first time in Chicago. He did not have that kind of talent around him. Those are just facts. Now, I know Jay Cutler, for all the some of the picks that this man has thrown in the past, I understand that. And obviously his personality rubs people the wrong way. Again, I have never been a Cutler fan in the past. I've never been a fan of Jay Cutler's. I swear to God. That's where my stance has been, and I'm pretty sure that's probably most Dolphins fans. I mean, before Tannehill got hurt, if I asked you, hey, what do you think about Jay Cutler, you would probably say, You really don't have a overwhelmingly positive stance on him. Again, if he can just cut down on the turnovers, which I think he can, and we've seen that he did that with Adam Gase. I think his talent with his arm is tremendous, and the talent around him is even more crap and tremendous. So I have faith that, yes, I think he can cut down on the turnovers within Adam Gase's offense, and with Devante Parker, Juice Landry, and Kenny Stills, he can throw 35 touchdowns. That's the talent around him. If everything goes well, Jay Cutler can... I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if everything goes well and he gets chemistry with the players and, he acclimates to the locker room, Jay Cutler can throw well over 30 touchdowns. So that has been your Miami Dolphins fan Q&A for this week. I know it's been a stressful week for Dolphins fans. It's been a very stressful week for me. Especially, we were riding this momentum, we were on this roller coaster, we were pointing all the way up, and then we got our legs cut out from under us, and we crashed and burned. But I think we recovered really well. I think it definitely could have been worse. So, this has been your Miami Dolphins fan Q&A for this week. This is my favorite show to do. I appreciate all of you, and I am Skaggs1383, and I will see you guys in the next one.